Hi, my name's Jamie, and I am with MyTarot.org. Also have a Facebook page, MyTarot, for people who want to actually join the discussion. But today I wanted to look at a particular deck that I had gotten. It was a Kickstarter deck. And because I'd been busy and everything, I hadn't done a review on it. But I wanted to because I was watching a couple reviews and I just felt like I wasn't sure if people were getting the deck. I was listening to some of the questions they had about the cards and things like that. And for me, I have close to 100 decks. And each one has its own personality, and each one's a tool for a different situation. And this particular deck, I was working on a spread for shadow work, which is when you want to maybe get a little bit deeper into the soul, when you want to maybe take a look at some things that are difficult to deal with or difficult things in your life, things that are in the shadows. And so this particular deck, and the name of this deck is the Somnia deck, and I'm presuming that I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's by Nicolas Bruno, and it's photography. And I am fascinated by this photography. I'm fascinated by these pictures because when doing shadow work or when doing a tarot spread, for me, I almost go into a trance. I kind of lose peripheral vision and I just kind of fall into the deck. And this deck has a very hypnotic, very dreamlike appearance. So again, I saw some other reviews and I wasn't quite sure people were getting the point of this deck. So imagine if you are dealing with something that is tough, whether it could be family stuff, childhood stuff, addiction, the person in front of you is struggling with something, and you want to present something to them. It can be tough, but when you have a deck that's something like this, that is dreamlike, and it presents the images, and one of the beautiful things about this deck is that, for example, you don't see anybody's face. All the faces are covered, just like in somebody's, like it was somebody's dream. So I totally get this deck. And I totally get what he's trying to do here. So, there's questions like, why have a fool going through the window like that? Well, for me, if I'm looking at this deck and it's the fool, he's stepping into a whole different world. He's tied to his bed there. The bed's following. We're tied. When we're in a dream or when we are in the middle of something, we are tied to that location. And this fool is tied to a location. And I see him just ready to just walk out the window, even though he's tied to it, doesn't even realize it. But, I see that sense. And I know it sounds strange and it feels weird, but again, when we have a deck, we want to use the images that are presented to us. What does that trigger? So this is kind of a triggery deck for me in that sense. So I feel with this fool that I understand, and I need the cards to the left and to the right to understand what he's doing and why he's doing that. But you know what? No matter how far we go sometimes, we can still be tied to our past. And that's what I can see with this fool, is that he doesn't even realize he's still tied to his past. Okay? The Magician. He's got a stairway that he's walking up into the unknown. And as we grow in the tarot and as we are moving through whatever spread we're working on or shadow work, we have all our tools in front of us. Now it's time to move forward and see what there is to learn. That is a stunning picture. Again, reading the spread based on what you're seeing. Here we have the High Priestess. What is she doing? She's in front of the water, and there's two pillars of smoke. One is black, one is white, and she is holding a fruit in her hand instead of a book. And so I'm imagining that is maybe from the tree of knowledge. I don't know, because I'm not doing a spread right now. I'm not seeing what's left to the right of it. But this really has my imagination just going. The Empress sitting at a sewing machine. She's creating. And again, we can't see her face. We have an emperor here who's holding a rope, and there is an anvil over top of his head. And that's one of the questions somebody had. But when I'm looking at this deck, or this particular picture, and I can see that our decisions can weigh on us, and one wrong decision, or, because he's the emperor, he has to maintain that tight control over everything. And as an emperor, we don't see that anvil on top of his head, but he knows it's there, and he has to guard against it. So do you see what I mean about a reading needs to reflect the deck that you have? So here's the Hierophant, the Lovers. The point is with this is that creating your own story, not expecting it to be, they're based on the Rider-Waite, but you're creating every time you do a spread your own story. So use your own insight. Look at these pictures. Strength, where she's holding a trap. That's a metal trap. You can't really see it very well, but that's a metal trap that she's holding. These create stories. They create images. They create dreams. I love this deck more than you can imagine. That death is stunningly beautiful. Okay, it's a figure all covered in white with a white sheet, and the horse covered in white, and he's holding the flag, and he's on this river. That evokes so many different images when I'm doing a reading. The Temperance, the Devil card, where we can see the person in black, all covered in black, and then loosely bound under this almost net-like of ropes are these people, and it actually looks kind of horrifying, almost like they're trapped under there, like they're tied down, like they're weighed down, their knees are up against their head, but at any time, these people could just let them loose. Again, this deck is for creating poetry, and that's how I see when I'm reading. I see things, I'm a musician. I see it as poetry. The Tower, the burning house on top of a person. That's poetry. The Star, somebody just standing at the top of a hill. The Moon, somebody climbing up from the depths. Judgment, 3 shadowy figures standing before a haloed figure in white. The World, the Sun. What does this mean to you when you see it? That's the question. I see this figure with the flowing red robe that's flowing just almost to another level. Like he's risen above. I mean, he's not in the dark like the others. This is, there's a sun here. So what does this dream image mean to you? What does this mean if you were going to write a poem? And so the pips, as you're going through, it follows a Rider-Waite in a lot of ways. But again, in a lot of ways, it's going to challenge you to come up with your own visions your own dreams, and your own interpretations. So, how do I feel about this deck? I'm completely moved by it. It's not one that I will use on a regular basis. It is not one that I would suggest just for a, well, you know what? I'm not even going to make any suggestions. If you feel that you have a song in you or a poem in you or a story to tell, this deck can help you get to a different level. You know, some people, you know, it might be a darker level. It could be that shadow level that you need to get to the honesty and the truth with. But that's how I feel about this deck. So it comes in this really nice box. Wonderful little box. It comes with a very basic type of manual, and it's just got, it talks a little bit about the artist, and then it goes into just keywords. But then who actually is going to, you know, learn the tarot from the keywords? I have a totally different method of teaching tarot anyway. But again, I really like this deck. And again, if you're looking to evoke more of something for shadow work, or something that's going to be more of a poet, you know, poetry, story, something that's going to trigger something deeper, my feeling is that this deck is beautiful for that. So with that, I'm going to say that I really like this deck, and I really appreciate what the artist was looking to do, and I want to thank you. And again, you can join, if you're on Facebook, you can go to the MyTarot. It's MySpace Tarot website. I'm sorry. Well, you can go to MyTarot.org, and you can get to my Facebook page. You can get to the YouTube page. But with that, I'm going to say thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening.